timing. You can watch that. Romans 3:23. Romania.
Amen. Amen.
Scripture I learned many years ago, and you'll hear it quite often in evangelistic circles when you try to minister to someone. And I think this is a scripture that we don't have to argue about, because none of us are here because we were well-to-do and we were priests and doing well, and we're here because we need to sort our lives out and our lives are in a heavy place. But just to give you comfort, the Bible says here that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. All have sinned. Everybody. There's no one. The greatest mentor you know, the greatest person you know, we've all fallen short. Every one of us fallen short. So I just want to bring that to our attention, because we beat ourselves up a lot because of all the mistakes we've made. It doesn't mean we can walk around and saying that no one can judge me and no one can correct me, and just so you know that you're right in a way, but that doesn't deter or take away from the fact that we ourselves need to change our lives. And I've spoken about Pastor Lynn a few times, and I'll mention her now. Many years ago, when I met her in Neisner, she did a deliverance of me, like a soul care course, where she would ask questions and go through things that I've been through, something similar to inventory. And guys understand inventory, most people understand inventory. Something similar to inventory, and her and Pastor Tristan were involved, and it was quite a daunting thing for about 6 to 7 weeks. Every Monday night I had to go there for the course material, and then once a week I'd meet up with them for hours at a time. And some of the sessions took hours, they were quite thorough. And I remember one thing that stood out to me after we went through the whole session. She generally gives you some encouraging words. Some of you guys have met her, she's quite encouraging, and she encourages your way forward. And after the whole thing, I actually felt good. I won't say I felt great, but I know something that happened. Something had happened. And you okay? Would you like tissue? Would you like water? Yes, you. You should. Need some water. Please, you know this is going to be on camera. Vanessa.
I actually like tissue.
Tissue, please, there you go. By all means, get a tissue. And what you guys are done?
To edit that out.
You done?
Yes.
You fine? More tissues? Water? Tea? Cake? Okay. Alright. So after the sessions, etc., she normally encourages you and gives you some feedback into your life and identity. And I remember she said one thing that stood out to me was that for the rest of my life I would walk with a limp. A limp. Do you understand? And obviously, coming back to where we're at now, when we're going through recovery and we're getting to places we feel better about ourselves, and we're starting to get stronger within ourselves, and we believe we're doing better. And at that time, I was feeling quite strong. I felt good. So when I was told that I would walk with a limp, I was like, who wants to walk with a limp? Anybody want to walk with a limp? Anybody enjoy a limp? Hey? There's a story in Genesis, we'll go there now, where there's a bit of wrestling between God and this young man, and he struck his hip, and first of all, life he walked with a limp. So it confused me a bit. What happens, but it confused me, but it didn't confuse me later. I understand it because I realized, I come to understand that I'm far from perfect. You didn't know I was far from perfect. Anybody didn't know that? Anybody? Just to make sure you all know that I'm far from perfect. I wish one of you would say, please, one of you just think, no. And I've come to realize that this limp in my life would be certain dysfunctional behavior that I have in the way I think. Rejection, ability to rebel, ability to lose the plot, etc., etc. I don't know if anybody else struggles with that. We go through times when we're doing really well and things are going well and we speak well and we feel good, we're doing well, and there's something will come up. Something will just come up and you think, what was that about? And I come to understand over time, because it was quite a few years ago with Pastor Lynn, I come to understand over time that for the rest of my life I have to keep things in check in my life. As long as I'm alive, as long as I'm breathing, as long as I'm on this planet, as long as I have the ability to move around the way I move around, I have to keep myself in check. And if I don't keep myself in check, that limp is going to cause me to go in the wrong direction. It can cause me to go in the wrong direction. And no matter how hard we try, people will notice there's something. There's something. And it's a difficult thing. We'd like to come into a place like this, or come into a place of health and healing, and we'd like to walk out and be perfect. That's what we do. That's what we actually expect. We don't say it. We don't say it, but that's what we actually expect. We expect ourselves to have it together. We expect ourselves after a month or two, we got it waxed, we're never going to relapse, we're never going to do anything stupid again. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. You can make mistakes still. You can make mistakes. You don't know that. I'm not advocating you go out there and make those mistakes. But what I'm trying to say that the possibility for the rest of our lives, if we don't keep things in check and keep the boundaries up, we're going to make mistakes. And the problem with making mistakes, or the problem with making big mistakes, is it's very difficult to come back from it. I was listening to something earlier on, heard a song, and I'll paraphrase it. It just said that I'm tired of starting again. I'm tired of starting again. And that's what I think I came to talk tonight. I'm tired of getting to a place and building up and growing things and just chucking it away. Because every one of us do that. That's what addiction does. It's like the enemy allows us to build up to a certain point. And when you're at a certain point, he makes or allows things to affect you. So he just pulls that underneath you and it's and after a while, when I was younger, it was quite easy. It was very easy. Dust yourself off, carry on, pretend nothing's wrong, and you find when younger people have more forgiveness from elder people. And I've noticed why. I've become an older person. And I've noticed the younger people, you have more grace towards it. They can make mistakes and they can say certain things, but the older people, you tend to be more firm with them. And the problem is when we become older people, those of you who are still very young, you will get older, that's what you should know. There's no lie, it will happen, it will come upon you, and like tonight. And understand something, the things you used to get away with when you were younger, you will not get away with when you're older. You won't. You just won't. So you've got to come to a place, and we got to come to a place, and I had to come to a place where I understood that for the rest of my life, because of this limp, because of these weaknesses in my life, that I would not be able to do certain things anymore. And I'd have to keep certain things in check. And sometimes I would have to suffer some form of rejection from people. Who knows I speak quite quickly? Who doesn't know that? If you didn't know that, you're deaf. I can speak quickly. And I can get excited when I talk. But yet God's called me to teach and preach. Hello? And to counsel. I feel sorry for some of you guys in my counseling office. What? And it's also teaching me patience, because even though I am the one speaking quicker, I get a bit frustrated sometimes. Not that much anymore. When I was young, of course. People say, what did you say? Sorry, what? And they ask you 2 or 3 times. You're like, well, you want to get upset with them. So there's these weaknesses, these crutches, or this limp that I might have. The reason I'm bringing it up, because the only way I can deal with this limp, the only way that I've been able to pick myself up over and over again, is because of this. It's because of this. Let me ask you, how many of you have done more than one mistake? And I'm not talking about mistake, I'm talking about flat. When you've built yourself up and many of us, eh? Some of you, the young, I understand you will go there if you don't change your ways. Trust me, youngsters. Many times. And every time you come back from it, isn't it more difficult? It is more difficult. And then you get to a place where if you don't have the ability to focus on the Word or focus on the Lord Jesus Christ, you're unable to, you will get to a place where you must become suicidal. You don't want to live anymore. There's no more hope. Some of us have gone through the process in our heads where we actually get to a place that maybe this is how we're supposed to be for the rest of our lives. This is who we're supposed to be. Anybody ever been there before? I remember driving around or being whatever and just saying I might as well carry on as is, because this is obviously who I am. Who likes hurting their loved ones? Anybody? Who likes chucking things away? Anybody like doing it? Anybody who said, "Man, I would like to go out of here and just go stuff everything up again"? Anybody here? No. Now the question is, how are you going to prevent it? And the question is, if you've been presented with deliverance and God has set you free, and you have a limp the rest of your life, it means you have to have some form of walking cane or something to help you walk correctly. Otherwise, you're going to go off track. Am I right? So you'll need some form of assistance to make sure you go where you need to go. And a person with a limp or a person who doesn't walk properly will also get tired a lot quicker sometimes, and will need to rely on other people and other things, other strengths, other than themselves. And the scripture says that where we are weak, He is strong. And the problem with us in recovery and with dysfunctional behavior is that we get to a place of pride where we think we are really, really strong. Because we get back into the gym and we get stronger and we meet a nice girl, the girl meets a nice boy, the job comes right, the family starts speaking to you again, and everything gets to a place where everything just seems fantastic. And we start relying on and thinking to ourselves that we are strong. That we are really, really strong. But the problem is, one of the biggest limps we have, that we struggle with relationships. We struggle with someone saying to us that you got it wrong. We struggle with someone correcting us. We struggle with someone, I don't know, anything. We struggle with people looking at us funny. You think I'm wrong? I've been here for a few years now, and I've seen people get upset about the weirdest things. But the problem is I also get upset about the weirdest things. And my main scripture is 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. I understand something. I got to a place in, my addiction. I think it's the right thing to use. I got to a place where I had used so much of whatever I was using that I didn't actually know when to cry. I didn't know how to respond to certain things. I didn't know how to relate to certain things. And I struggled to cry. And not just struggle to cry, I struggled to attach or link up with things emotionally. I would have situations where a loved one would die, and I would know that I needed to cry, but I didn't. I knew. I wanted my loving Opa. When he passed away, I'm supposed to cry, aren't I? He's the one that taught me how to play chess. By the way, guys, I like playing chess against me. My grandfather was the one who taught me to play chess. He was the one that was there for me when things were weird at a certain time in my life. But yet when he passed away, I really struggled to cry. When one of my loved ones, one of my children, before he was born, passed away, I struggled to cry. And I remember walking with Ralph de Nobrega and thinking to myself that I should actually be very sad about this. And I struggled to cry. And the scripture that stood out to me in these times was 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. Concerning the times that I went through. It's one of my favorite scriptures. I think some of other people's favorite scriptures as well. Paul the Apostle speaks about it. It says here, the backwards. Concerning this, I implored the Lord 3 times that it might leave me, this thorn, this hindrance, this thing in my life. And he would say to me, and said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. These weaknesses, these things that I can't follow through with, these mistakes that I might keep making, if you can relate. And I got to a place when this child of mine passed away, and I remember seeing with Ralph de Nobrega, and I remember thinking, ooh. I was sad, don't get me wrong, but I was very sad, I was devastated. But this kept ringing in my head. This kept ringing and literally rang in my head. And when Ralph de Nobrega comes again, you can ask him about it. He walked with me around Carolina Farm. And I remember I fell to my knees and I said out loud, my grace is sufficient for me. Because what had happened was, I had mistake. I'd fallen again and again and again. And every time I'd fallen, things got worse and worse and worse and worse. When you're young, everything works out for you. You can drive around hammered, high, and you hardly ever get caught, if you get caught. At one stage, before I came to Carolina Farm, I would get caught just coming out. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Now. And when I got here, it was just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing went wrong. Where I think even one of my good friends will attest to it, that he even said to God, how much more will I have to take? But in that, my grace is sufficient. And the biggest part for me is this, and it says, for power is perfected in weakness. Power is perfected in weakness. And we're trying so hard to be strong in so many areas, when Christ is telling us that in our weaknesses He is found to be strong. So where is our actual strength? Is it in our ability to get fit again? Is it in our ability to do the right thing for a period of time? Is it in our ability to stay sober for years and years and years? Is that where our strength is? No, it's not. But time and time again, we get caught out in that trap where we find our strength in how many things we do right, instead of finding our strength in who He is in our life. Because as soon as we take our focus off Him, and as soon as I take my focus off Him, you come to a place where you will fall. It's just a matter of time. And as soon as we start trusting and relying on our strength, there will come a time when you will fall. When you start trusting and relying on your ability to understand things and see things and trusting in your own ability, there will come a time you take, remember, we are weak in certain areas. According to world stats, we have a disease. Who doesn't know that? According to world standards, we have a disease. And according to world stats, it means every one of us here will relapse again. But some of us sit here, we're so arrogant, we don't realize that that's how the world sees us. That's how the world sees us. Do you know that? And we sit here, we walk around full of pride, and we get to a place where we're walking, all our minds are strong. And time again, the people like us that have been through things, we will prove them right. You know why we'll prove them right? Because of our arrogance. Because of the pride we walk in. Because we think a lot more of ourselves than we should. Instead of realizing the only reason we can do what we can do is because of God's grace in our life. And His grace is strength in our hearts and in our lives. There's people sitting here now with arrogance in their hearts. Some people sitting here with anger towards God. Let me tell you something now. When you die one day with your anger in your heart, I want to see what you're going to tell God. The creator of all things. I want to see how you show Him how angry you are. Because we've got the arrogance to sit here and be angry with God. God has given us opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to repent and not rely on our own strength. According to Matthew 11:28, He says that come to me, you are heavy, you are burdened and heavy laden. Come to me. I translate, you are in Matthew 11:28. Go there. 11:28. Matthias.
Amen.
Amen. Most of us come to this place because we don't end up in a rehab or place of safety or place to recover because we are strong. Am I right? We're not strong. We've got to a place where we've gotten weak, we become short of ourselves, where we know no more power, even if you're here by court order or you're by warrant, whatever you're here for. You got to a place. The reason you got to that place because you allowed yourself to get really, really weak. Because you rely completely on yourself. And the Bible says in 11:28, speaks about this. It says, come to me, come to me. Come to who? To Him. To Jesus. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. And if you got weary and heavy laden, we get tired. Weary, tired, effort and toil from this internal battle, this fight. We always try and change things. We make promises we can't keep. We don't make good. We see things wrong. We keep making mistakes, and we decide today we're going to change our lives around and someone offends us. Someone does something we don't like and we throw everything out the door again. Or we're having a good time, so we decide to do something for the old times, and we do it again and again and again and again and again, and we get tired from trying. We get tired from trying. I know I got tired. Yes, it became a mission. But then even though it's a mission, it's like you've got this thing in your nose that pulls you. Eh? I mean, that thing, is this the thing that pulls you by the nose? And everybody has a ring in their nose. You want to try it. We'll put a ring in your nose and we'll see if you can resist if I pull. Because if you do resist, you're going to have a lot of pain. And that's what our enemy does to us. He starts controlling us. Master of puppets. And we're so full of ourselves we don't realize we're being played. You know the scripture says that if there's a strong man in your life, that you need someone stronger than the strong man. And we sometimes are so arrogant and are thinking we think we're the strong man. We're going to overpower the strong man. Right? The strong man's disease that they say that we have. Now I understand why they say it. And I can attest it. If you don't keep the thing in check, it will come back. But I'll tell you what the disease is. The disease is our hearts, our flesh. We're very good at feeding this. We have a lot of fun with this. Isn't it? We did all we did because it was really horrible. No, a lot of stuff we did, we really enjoyed. So we feed it and we feed it and we feed this thing. This thing that has an appetite that cannot be filled. Like I said before, I believe people in addiction are good at sinning. We're good at it. Really good at it. But guess what? After a while you get tired. And heavy laden. And guess what? I will give you rest. But so what do we think? We think we're going to give us rest. And we start drawing from people because we think you're going to give, or the girlfriend, or the boyfriend, or what you think that person give you rest, or you think the dad's going to give you rest, or you think the world's going to give you rest. And then what happens? You just pull and pull and pull and pull and pull and pull until everything around you has no more energy. And then what? Now what? Now what? Then you end up in rehab. But not to be cheeky now, you know. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart. And you will find rest for your souls. Find rest for your souls. This resting and this up and down and this not being able to keep your promises and. It's tiring, man. It's really tiring. But the funny thing is I watch sometimes and I know that most of us have hurt a lot of people, and yet we sometimes feel arrogant about it. We don't even see it. Jeremiah 17. It's a bit heavy today. It is heavy tonight, eh? Not that bad, eh? I do tissue, okay? Good stuff. I like Jeremiah 17.
Amen.
Verse 5, thus says the Lord. Thus says the Lord. This is off Genesis. Cursed is the man who trusts in mankind and makes flesh his strength. What are we all about? We're all about making our flesh our strength, how we feel about things, and our interpretation. We're all about that. Are we all about that? It says, cursed is the man that makes flesh his strength. So what happens when we have our line or we have our shot or whatever, and we get that euphoric feeling? What do we pursue all the time? Same thing. As I said, we're good at sinning. Because we go the extra mile. And makes flesh his strength, and his heart turns away from the Lord. What will cause your heart to turn away from the Lord? If you make flesh your strength. If you make your ability your strength. Or you rely on everybody else. It says that you will turn your heart away from the Lord. For he will be like a bush in the desert. He will not see when prosperity comes. How many opportunities have we had in life? Or job opportunities? Or things we know if we took it, we wouldn't be in the position we are financially today. Many, eh? Watch what it says here. It will live in the stony waste in the wilderness. A land of salt without inhabitant. How many of us leave here today? I was speaking to my guys in a small group, a short group, and I said, how many of us leave here after this and everything's organized for us? Everything's just settled. Maybe one or two of you, I won't disagree. But let's say the hardened criminals. How many of us leave and everything's in place? And we go back to our wife and our kids and everything's fine and our job's standing for us. And we're going to have a big welcome party, there'll be streamers and well done on your recovery. How many of us are going back to that? Look at them, we're excited you're going back. But we're going to go back and we have to work. We have to go back, we have to go through things. And if we can't go through things here, we're deceiving ourselves and we think we can go through things out there. It's an absolute madness. Blessed is the man who trusts in who? His flesh? The Lord. For he'll be like a tree planted by the water that extends into roots by a stream. Ever see when a tree is in a bad place, when there's not enough water and it's a bit dry, and you give it water, what happens? And you keep giving it, and you look after it, starts to make the life again. So understand, if you're trusting your flesh and you're getting in a dry and weary and heavy place, it says that he said, come to me. If you come to him, guess what? He starts giving you the water stuff. You start getting strong again. But if you rely on the flesh, and you rely on your own ability, and you rely on your own understanding, it says here that you will not see when prosperity comes. You will not see it. It's not me trying to trick you. You will not see it. You will not see the opportunity. You know, remember I've said it a few times, it's like a different rehab here. There's a positive rehab and there's a negative rehab. Huh? So, I don't know, where is the positive rehab, by the way? I must meet this, I must go to that section. And where's the negative rehab? Is it two different rehabs here? No. And will not fear when the heat comes. Will not fear when the heat comes, when you're under pressure, when you're being corrected, when things aren't going right. Isn't it a bit like heat? You will not fear when the heat comes. I'll tell you something now, when pressure comes and you fear and you fold, it tells me you're relying on the flesh. But if pressure comes, and I'm not saying it's perfect, oh, praise the Lord, hallelujah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it comes and you stand. It comes and you might have a bit of a over, but you don't run away. Then I know where your focus is on. If you want to run away, you're relying on the flesh. You become predictable. You become absolutely predictable. Then you allow the disease back into your life. And you'll not be anxious in a year of drought, nor cease to yield fruit. For many of us being here for a period of time, whether 6 months or 20 years, it's like a year of drought. But it says if you rely on the Lord, it will not be a fearful thing. It will be a thing where you will grow and you'll be planted, and next thing you know, you see things are going better, and you didn't have to do much. You just have to trust in the Lord. And here's the part I'm going to get to. The heart is more deceitful than all else. Now, I've asked you this before. Which heart is he talking about? Is he talking about your neighbor's heart? He's talking about your own heart. And time again, when we get to a better place, we start relying on our heart. We start relying on our understanding over and over again. And then we wonder why we have to start again and again and again and again. Or we go backwards again and again and again and again. And he's desperately sick. Where is the disease? Do you see the disease? Who can understand it? I, the Lord, who searches our heart, he does. I cannot see it. He can see it. Can you see your heart? Because if you couldn't see it, a lot of things you were doing or have done, you wouldn't have done. You wouldn't have done it. If you could truly see what was going on inside of you, and you truly understood what was going on inside of you, you would have not done it. There are some things we are ashamed of doing. Very ashamed of doing. There's some things we wish we could do again, which is not a good thing. But we're ashamed of most of what we've done, especially to the end before we come to the dream. Even to each man according to his way, I test the mind, even to give to each man according to his way, according to the result of his deeds. So I went into a commentary, obviously asking the question about, give me some more description or more understanding about the heart being sick. And it's nice to have some understanding, alright? So I'm thinking, yes, we got this, we're never going to, only the day you die, you'll be rid of it. You'll be rid of it. And the heart of man is corrupt. And woman, so you know. The heart of man and woman is corrupt. You understand corruption? Someone's corrupt. You know what happened to us? What would happen to us in the Bible times if we were alive then? You know what would happen to us? Who knows what would happen to us? Stone, just one little stone. Like a dog. Don't be naughty. Stop being so rebellious. Boink. That's what happened. You know what happened? They would stone you to death. So guess what? In those days, there was no rehabs. Our anger and our arrogance and our rebellion and the drug addiction and alcohol addiction didn't exist. Because once it came up, it was tickets. It was like having a joint and going, oh, damn, I want to die tonight. You weren't going to die. The bad trip will be a real bad trip. You know what I mean? No, that's serious. Your mother and your father throw the first stone. They can take it out because it's corruption. It's corrupt. It's like a disease. It goes through. If you notice, if there's one person that's negative, they'll find the other person that's negative, and find the other person, and you have 4 or 5, and you have this huge rebellion. Have you noticed that? Huh? See, you know that God's very clear. Did you know? I don't know if you knew that. It's like really sharp. And he understood that. Not because he didn't like people, he understood what could happen. And you know what we're full of? Rebellion, pride, rejection. You know that? So our thinking is corrupted with that. So when we think or make decisions, it's based in rebellion. When we think and make decisions, it's based in rejection. Did you know that? Especially us. When you make your calculations, in your calculations is rebellion. In your calculations is rejection. Damn, we're in trouble. Eh? So we're not living for Him, and we're not focused on Him, and we're not laying our lives down. It doesn't matter what we do, we have corruption in our hearts. Where they catch you now, they will catch you. And that's when we keep falling. Is corrupt in its fallen state, is deceitful in its apprehension of things, calling evil good and good evil. Have you noticed how we justify our behavior because someone else did something wrong? Calling evil good and good evil. You know what the Bible says about it? It says in the end time, people will become like it. We'll start calling evil good and good evil. What do we like as addicts? We justify our bad behavior. We justify doing wrong. That tells us it's a corrupt heart. Putting false colors upon things. So the way you perceive things, so even when you're thinking good things, you might have a false color on it. If your favorite color is blue and it's a nice top, but it's pink, are you going to buy it? No. If your favorite color is blue and the top is pink, would you prefer the blue top or the pink top? A blue top. So you understand? So if you're seeing things a certain way and your corrupt heart, you're seeing different colors. It means you're not. It doesn't matter if you're seeing the thing, you're corrupt in your thinking. You're not seeing the right color of the thing. So you say that top's actually not a nice top. That's not actually a nice person. That person, actually, no, that person's full of nonsense. Paranoia, issues with one another, not trusting leadership. You paint this color on it. It's you that's corrupt. It's you that sees it like that. Why is it people here that some people don't like, other people do like? Why? Because the people looking at them that like them see them in a different color. I love certain people, even though they are not nice people, and a lot of people don't like them, but God has allowed me to, by His grace, to see them with a different color. So I can say, yes, he's a bit of a nana, but I still love him. I still like him. Imagine how things would be different if we could see that in our parents. Those are issues with our parents. We have issues with our brothers or sisters. Imagine you can do that. So you know that that's the issue in their life. But because you're not working with this heart of the seed, you see, you'll go, but I love him. What happens with us? We corrupt and we rebel. Who do we rebel against? Our buddies that use weed and meth with us. No, we're Chinese. The people that love us. It doesn't make any sense. So, a corrupt heart. Crying peace to those with whom peace doesn't belong, and cheating men to them for their ruin. Deceitful in their hopes. Deceitful in their hopes. Does it sound familiar? They have all these hopes. From tomorrow I will start. From next week I will start. I'll never do it again. I'm sorry, there's your hopes. Your hopes are deceitful. And deceitful in promises. How many times you committed and you've not kept it? That's corrupt heart. There's your limb. Men's heart is incapable of seeing things in a straightforward manner. And the heart are incapable of seeing it the way it should be seen. And if we try to use our own understanding to see the way things should be seen, we rely on our own abilities to get things done, we will continue to go backwards. I'm not saying that when you finally see things the right way that things will be perfect, but because of His grace in our lives and because of His strength in our weaknesses, we will continue to stand up and continue to move forward. We cannot rely on our corrupt hearts. We cannot rely on our own understanding. We cannot. We need to lay those things down. If you do not, and the only way we can do that is through Him. It's to focus on Him. To focus on someone greater than us. That's what I'm going to say for tonight. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, guys. Father God, I want to thank you for a weird, topsy-turvy type word. I hope that what needed to be heard will be heard. And I just thank you, Lord, that we don't have to be tired of starting again. We don't have to be tired of making mistakes. Because in our weaknesses, and while looking at you, we are made strong. That your grace is sufficient to handle and go through whatever we need to. Thank you for this in Jesus' name.
Amen.